we talked about a concept of Shakti. So we have to see from those points of view. Of course, within that, then you should make those things efficient. Okay? But that they are non-clean, inefficient is not established. There is no scientific way of establishing, which you already set the criteria, which is biased against that. So first, you have to look at those criteria, and then we can have probably much better energy plan. Thank you.
Awesome. Query from the people. Now the floor is open for the next few minutes.
Can I take off on the discussion? I would like to take off on the discussion that was posed by Dr. Naresh Kumar. In terms of the milk example particularly, he said you are collecting it from different points, centrally taking it somewhere, and then you are redistributing it, which means a lot of energy wasted in the whole process. I fully agree with that, but I also would like to add another point to it. See, on the one hand, if you are looking at very remote local areas, the kind and quality of milk that is available there, if you have to depend entirely on the local resources, might be different from the kind and quality of milk that is standardized and available throughout the country. So, while you pay a little bit in terms of energy costs, there are other advantages to it. Similarly, when you're talking of high-rise buildings or energy consumption, urbanization, high-rise buildings has its own advantages in offering other facilities for the population. So if we are looking at only one dimension of it, then it's difficult to judge whether it is the right option or not. So, but I fully agree with you. I think we should take a relook at some of these processes and whether the fundamental processes per se are worthwhile continuing in the way they are doing it in the larger context. And if we need to change that, and then look at the technical efficiencies at the production level. So this is my question.
So I want to know from our Russian friends, or even as far as wind energy is concerned, I want to know what is the availability factor, call it in a given year, or for that matter, is no doubt we all know that it's more. It's not a continuous work. But is there any difference in Russia? Say, for example, what is the percentage of availability factor? And in a given day or in a given time, call it a week or something, is there any kind of fluctuations with respect to the energy levels? This is what I'd like to know. In Indian, I would appreciate that you can give.
Because I was busy.
Sorry.
Can you repeat the question, please?
No, just I would like to know the wind energy, what you generate in our country. What is the availability factor in a given year?
You see,
Yeah, please on.
so your question is how much reliable the wind energy is in Russia. Is that the question? Am I right in understanding? So there is very small amount of wind generators in Russia, and as I told you, there are about 1,500 units in Bashkortostan and in another area. So there was also a map shown with those areas which are which have more wind power and which can be used for wind generating. But of course, we don't have it that widespread like in Europe, for example, in Holland or in Germany. And it's only on experimental basis. There is not even government regulation as to feedback to the grid, sale of energy from alternatives. That's what I mentioned. So it still has to be developed in Russia.
Sorry, I want to know, in a given 365 days, how long you can rely on the wind power? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months?
No, I cannot answer this, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I am Nagaraj from Nuclear Power Corporation. I have one comment to what Mr. Sharma was talking about, and I think you can supplement that. He said that as the demand grows, it continues to grow, and therefore we should be able to limit our demands going for the efficient processes, something like that. In this context, I have one comment. I will give you some 2 or 3 examples also in this. If you see the developed countries, especially US or OECD countries, the demand of the electricity has almost tapered off for last many years, number one. Maybe the rate of rise of population in these countries is not that high as in the other part of the world like Asia and all that. Basically, it is the energy GDP elasticity, right? Talking in terms of that, which decides how much demand is there. For the developing countries like India and China, the energy GDP elasticity is quite high. In case of India, sometime back, some figures have been given, is roughly around 1.5% or so. Now, if that is the kind of GDP and energy elasticity, then we need to grow for the energy at a rate of roughly around 8 to 9%. So this is one comment. The second thing is, so far as improving the efficiency of the current systems, it has already been done world over, at least in the field of nuclear plants. I am aware. The nuclear power plants a decade ago used to operate at a plant load capacity factor of 60%. Over a period of time, the plant load capacity factors has improved to over 90%. It is as good as adding additional amount of installed capacity. That's one reason the nuclear power plants or even the other power plants, they did not grow in number. So this is, I just wanted to clarify.
I will quickly respond that to both the comments by see, milk is only an example. Let me just say that there is no. If you go into details, we'll probably digress too much into that. It is only an example to say that you can organize differently, and it will depend on specifics of the region and so on and so forth. There are various ways of looking at it. It is not only that homogenized and standard milk is the better. I think this itself is debatable. It is debatable thing that whether is better solution or not. But of course, if we are a society, we have to care for all parts. That point is very valid. Similarly, about high-rise buildings, I think we have to look at the overall picture again. If you are going to have the kind of that kind of thing, say India and USA, we are talking about that. It's developed countries. Their energy intensity per capita is 20 times India's. And if anybody is willing to imagine that we are going to have the same kind of energy intensity here, even what is existing today, what it is going to do to our environment and everything, I think it is very horrifying to think of that. It is not very easy to contemplate that. If India and China both are going to do that, and they are trying to go on that path. Let us be very clear that China is reaching very close to that kind of thing. They are not far behind. They are going to be, very soon they are going to be one of the large energy consumers. And this one reason is that the catching up with them. In the long run, whether it is going to benefit the society, I think it is a highly difficult issue. That solution lies there or the other things. Quickly coming to your thing, that elasticity of energy requirement per dollar of PPP, etc. Even in India is probably less than 1 now. It is not greater than 1. Because in Parik expert committee projects that for 8 to 10% growth in GDP, you require 4 to 5% growth in energy. So if they are having base of their data, then obviously they are expecting that you require less energy growth compared to in percentage of reimbursement. That is, this ratio is roughly the less. Okay, it is less than 1 if they are acting. And they give some data also that I class. India actually seems to have much better record than most countries in terms of production of energy per $1,000 ppb, 0.16 tons oil equivalent. That is what they talk about. Okay. Given all these things also, can you say that USA is energy secure today? That is how I put it. Whether it is growing or not is one way of looking at it. Do they feel they are energy secure? I doubt that they will be able to claim their energy secure. There is a large amount of population which like to do things they are not able to do because of their distribution of income and so on and so forth. And what kind of things they would like to do? Are they not going to require more energy? It is the economic system which is preventing greater energy requirement. Okay. So I think we have to go deeper into that. The aspirations are same. They are not able to move further. Those who are having several cars per family probably don't need more cars. Okay. They may go for more efficient cars. But in USA today also there are a lot of people who aspire for many of these things. Their aspirations don't stop here. Okay. And if you have that system, they are going to have this problem.
Just a final comment I was just saying. Just what you said is fine. The need for the growth of the electricity per year in India is roughly 5 to 6% as you are telling. Maybe it is correct. But then the question is that you need a certain threshold quantity of electricity per capita. That cannot be denied. The issues are basically all related to the society, the human development index, and those things would come in picture. It is fine that you have to keep some kind of limitation just because you cannot produce, but then it cannot be denied that for the quality life for the human beings in all the countries, including India, more so in India, we need to have the electricity growth, which has been projected. Thank you very much.
I'll just say a couple of sentences only. I have not said anything about how much energy is required, but the question is that how to assess that, and that is where society is concerned. I am talking about that. Not that we should have electricity or not. If I go to my village and if I say that why do you need electricity, they will say that okay, you don't use electricity if you are saying that. We need electricity. You are already using much more than you do. So you give electricity. You are right, absolutely right that you cannot have this kind of situation that where some people use 100 times energy compared to some other people. That is unacceptable. If it is going to give a better life, it must be available to all. And as a society, you must see that what is that kind of, whether it is threshold, good life you have. Does it give good life? I think we have, if I go to Hyderabad, how much energy is used on the dividers of the road? How much energy is used there? Is that the best use of energy? Why is it being used? It is because market system is asking us to do it. And we have to look at that.
Very small comment to make. While we say this, we should also keep demand supply side management. And what we feel that in our country that we should have more power generation, but we have followed the World Bank model. And the World Bank model is to see that more and more countries they generate more and more power because funding can come from the countries who have a major say in the world. So their intention is not to serve the needs of the masses of poor people in the country, but their intention is to see that money from which countries it comes to India, and they are in a position to earn a high rate of interest and pay back to them. So while we say that, we should also see, we have had the questions of energy consumption, Sherman Fox and MGG and HNC. We find that in our country, we can save power to the tune of 30% by better utilization of power, even in agriculture, in many other areas. So, while there is need to have larger generation of power, there is also an equal need is to see that we manage our energy sources in a more professional.
Yeah, that's
One small thing I want to say that I think we all agree on.
please use the mic.
We all agree on the conservation by an individual and bring out some energy conservation to the society by the self-awareness programs. And second is the low consumption by the low consuming energy consuming appliances or devices. So I think we all agree on these two issues, which many of the yesterday's papers and even today's papers will be.
Thank you. To conclude the session, one or two points which clarification I give. As on whatever that Dr. Negi gave some potential what they have created, that is in the long term. As far as the renewable energy sources in India, currently it is estimated at 84,600 megawatt, that much good is the potential is there. Out of that, actual in use is 13,450. The windmill which is the wind energy is there. The potential is 43,000. Against that, in capacity is 9,500 megawatt, 10,000 megawatt. As far as the availability is concerned, it varies. Nobody can really give that. The highest potential identified in India is the western coast area up to the Tamil Nadu, that portion. The Tamil Nadu is a pioneer in this, in the sense. Even today also, the installed capacity of the whatever you have, almost 75-80% is in Tamil Nadu, followed by Maharashtra and now Karnataka and other states also catching up in that area. The average it is coming around 5 months, but it is a non-uniform generation. One of the problems which is in the wind energy is facing, which in the regulators forum we are trying to tackle is, presently we have got what we call that the tariff is availability based tariff system which is in operation, which means every generator as well as the utilizer of the power, the distribution companies who are in the system, has to declare 24 hours in advance with the breakup of 15 minutes cycle, what is the power he will generate, what he will draw. This is being regulated by the load dispatch centers and regulated monitored by the regulatory commissions, so that the grid discipline is maintained. There is a system of penalties and to some extent rewards also, partly penalties or more. Somebody not adhering to the system. The wind energy, the problem is that the generator is not in full control of the system. So he is finding difficult to schedule 24 hours in advance as on day, and the penalty is also heavy, and he gets and see the present system is we cannot change the schedule once we given, except on an outage. There again in a cycle of after six cycle means 1.5 hours. You will pay heavy penalty even in this 1.5 hours also. So there is a problem is there which in the regulators forum we are trying to tackle in one way is that whether we can allow them to change the schedule. Today they are very minor player, so grid doesn't get affected by them really in a sense. This is one of the reasons, that's why you don't find many interstate projects are not coming. Within the states, what is happening? The government, or if you have got again the monopoly situation, you have a single buyer, then the squeezing is coming of the rates and irrespective of the preferential tariff, the problem comes in the connectivity and the so some of the issues are being addressed by the commission on that. we are also discussing among ourselves, maybe economists may be of maybe interest to them, how it is feasible. We are trying to work out whether we can introduce, because the states, the potentials are varying from different states. Somebody is having higher potential to have a renewable energy, somebody doesn't have energy. But we have to prescribe a minimum percentage obligations, they must utilize it. So at the same time, the states which are having high potential don't stop with 10% or 15%, we should encourage them. If they have to invest more, capital cost is high. Whether we can introduce a scheme of renewable energy certificates which are transferred similar to whatever carbon credits. Carbon credits have not been great success, though it has been successful in Europe. So whether it will work, we do not know. We are in discussion in the commission among all the whether we can reduce so that more investments can come in the renewable energy area, so that the places where the potential is very high, they can go for a massive, and then the one is they can sell the power also to the interstate by scheduling, change in schedules. At the same time, they can also get certain amount of additional revenue in respect of transfer of these certificates to the potential places where such things are not possible. This is one way of encouraging whether it will work. It is only in the process of developing on that. Now we are concluding this session. It has been very interesting, and in fact towards the end, Dr. Sharma has given a impetus on an economic angle. I have to come to that your example of milk, though it is an example of milk. But that is very much applicable for the power sector because the product is homogeneous. At the same time, the point which you mentioned, why we should transfer all this power generation, it is happening in power sector, it is happening both. One is, as I told you, the wind and other small energies are basically consumed within the state or the level. It is possible to, the solar and other things can be highly localized in remote places. At the same time, the high potential of hydel in Himalayas, it is also have to be tapped. It is being, in fact today the Arunachal Pradesh, you may be knowing that a number of hydel major projects are under process of development, and where the load centers will be either Bombay or the southern region, all those things. So the national grid, which is, we already established a national load dispatch center, which stands for state, and the national grid is, and just of course giving incidental information on that. We have already very strongly connected the western grid, the northern grid, the eastern grid and northeastern grid. There is no limitation in transfer of power, only there is a limitation with regard to southern grid with regard to that. Probably it is also in a few years it will overcome. So that there is a free flow of electricity from the, one is from the economic point of view, because the merit order system is very well in vogue in the power sector. That is very well there, and the people are able to do that. Of course, some other things I will talk in the afternoon session with the paper what we have produced that the discussion. We had, in fact, we came to know from the Dr. Picasso that the high potential of geothermal energy in Russia. It's very interesting thing. In fact, India, we have some potential. We tried some years back. I myself was involved in 10 years back in the Ladakh region. Marriage was there. But the question was our concentration always in the electrical. I mean, because I am also from electrical man. But we always, this energy means the electrical. That's why we discarded those things, because it is not possible to utilize in a turbine. But there are other forms of utilizing those energies that are available in many places. And even in Andhra Pradesh, some segments have been found out. Of course, the power, the heat energy is low, so we discarded it. But the time will come and the technology will come, those things are definitely will get to conclude this, I thank all the preparators, all of you for the participation. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. Thank you so much.